We've been talking about, we had started talking about a few weeks ago, the, the mindset of an entrepreneur. And I only was able to get through a few slides when we started. And I'm going to kind of pick back up on that. But before, as I pick back up on that, I'm going to parlay that from our conversation earlier today when we dealt with Prevail. The truth is, as an entrepreneur, as you may recall, one of the characteristics of an entrepreneur is an individual that is willing to take on risk. And whenever you're willing to take on risk, that means you're willing to position yourself or put yourself in a position where you're going to come up against certain things that could potentially hinder your success. And so in terms of entrepreneurship, it is essential for everybody to understand that is not something that is necessarily easy. Matter of fact, when you really look at entrepreneurship, it is something that is not for the faint of heart. It's something that's going to take grit. It's going to take determination. It's going to take all of those things. And if you guys may remember, I gave you the 10 characteristics of an entrepreneur. I'm not going to go over it now because I don't want to spend a lot of time doing that. We discussed it before. And so what I want to deal with, though, as an entrepreneur, as now, which every person that's under the sound of my voice, every person that's on this call, you are all entrepreneurs. And as an entrepreneur, in order for you to prevail, which means to be successful in the midst of opposition and adversity, there's a certain grit, there's a certain grind that you must have. So very quickly, I'm going to share something I shared earlier, and then I'm going to go even further into understanding how to develop a mindset of an entrepreneur. Now, one of the things that we discussed in our earlier conversation and dialogue was this. And when I say earlier, I'm talking about those of you that was on our Wednesday morning coaching call. We talked about how to prevail, how to become successful in the midst of adversity, in the midst of opposition, in the midst of distractions, in the midst of uninvited interruptions. And basically that means you're being an entrepreneur and you're having to become successful just living this thing called life. Because everything that I just talked about are things that all of us have to deal with on a daily basis. So how do you become successful in it? And so the way that you prevail, I'm going to use this as an acronym. One of the things is the P is you must be persistent. That means to be persistent says you got to keep going. You got to keep going in the midst of difficulty, in the midst of opposition, in the midst of adversity. You have to keep going. Somebody put in the chat line for me, keep going. You have to keep going. The R in Prevail is resilience. You must be resilient. And when you think about the word resilient, the word resilience deals with the ability to bounce back after a fall, or the bounce back after you've encountered adversity. You have to be resilient. That means you won't quit. You won't give up. You won't throw in the towel. So someone put in the chat line for me, bounce back. So you have to keep going. And in the midst of that difficult time, and as you go through that difficult time, it's imperative that you understand there are going to be moments where you fall. And that's when you have to become resilient. You must bounce back. Now, in the midst of the fall, in the midst of missing the mark, there's going to be disappointment that comes up. And the E in Prevail becomes encourage yourself. Because so whenever there's a moment, there's going to be times where you feel isolated, you feel by yourself, and you're ready to quit, you're ready to throw in the towel, but you was resilient, you bounce back. But what helps you to bounce back is your ability to encourage yourself. Your ability to speak to yourself, speak to your future, speak to your destiny, even though it does not look like you're going to reach it. Your ability to give yourself a pep talk that says, come on, you can do this, is going to be very essential as an entrepreneur. And so you must have this mindset. The V is vision. So when you are encouraging yourself, one thing that helps to bring forth motivation is your vision. Some of your vision, some of you are with Wakana today because of the fact that you were looking just to earn more income. And Wakana was a vehicle to do it. So when the moments of discouragement, you want to always be reminded, hey, listen, I can earn extra income to pay this bill off. Wakana is my vacation money. I want to go on vacation with this money, with what I make with Wakana. Wakana is the money that's going to allow me to go to work and fire my job. Wakana is, so whatever your why is, whatever your vision is for as it pertains to your life and your financial future and where Wakana sits in it, you must have one. Because if you don't have a vision, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. So number one, I want you to be persistent, keep going. Number two, I want you to be resilient, bounce back. Number three, I want you to encourage yourself. Y'all put in the chat, encourage myself. I want you to encourage yourself. Number, and then now when you get to V, I want you to have a vision. Whenever you are bringing people into Wakana and they're joining the business, you have to assess their vision. You have to assess their why. You have to understand why are you doing this? Because there's going to be times where they're going to need a reminder. So make certain that your team members and those that you're working with and you yourself, make certain that you always keep your vision before you. The A is assistance. You want to assist. You want to provide assistance to somebody else. What I've always learned that the secret sauce to me living the kind of life that I want to live and reaching success, the successes that I've been able to reach, is my desire to help somebody else. You got to understand that. And as you begin, there's something, I don't know what it is, but there's a certain level of fulfillment that I get when I assist somebody else in fulfilling their dreams, when I assist somebody else in helping them to become successful. That even in the midst, I'll give you an example. Yesterday, we were getting ready because our services are back open and we have noonday Bible study. And so while we were setting up for noonday Bible study, getting ready to get started, there was a young lady that identified, that found us online on Facebook. And when she saw me walk in, she began to scream. And as she began to scream, she began to say stuff like, I just want to thank you. I want to thank you. I want to thank you. And I'm like, what did I do? Because I didn't know the young lady. And she said, you may not know this, but I was on Facebook and I saw one of the services that you were speaking at. And oh my God, it really helped me. And I started watching you guys. And not only you, but all of you, all of the executive leaders and the pastors that are speaking. You guys just don't know how much you have impacted my life. And she began to cry. She said, I know you can't see us. And I know you don't know if the anointing is coming through the computers or through the phones, but I want to tell you that it is. You've helped my entire family. And what that did for me was it encouraged me, because I'm tired. I don't want to be bothered. I don't know if it makes sense. But because it's assisting and helping somebody else, it gives me motivation to continue on. So that's what I want you to put. The A is assist, but I want you to put in the chat for me, help somebody else. Help somebody else. One of the things that I believe that Minister Diamond Mooney is, and why I celebrate him so, is because while he's yet in the midst of building his own business, providing for his own family, what he does without even thinking about it, is that he always positions himself, and he always puts himself in position to help somebody else. He's always willing to lend. You don't even have to be on his team, but he's willing to help. And I believe it is that natural, tangible act of kindness that he does, that there is something that comes back that helps him to become successful in his business. I just believe that. So the A is to help somebody, is to assist or help somebody else. The I is to inspire. The I is to inspire. Because what you have to understand is that the truth of the matter is many people are moved. Listen to the language. Many people are moved to do something based on how they have been inspired. Would you guys agree to that? Based on how they've been inspired, they are moved to action. Some people, if we let the truth be told, that are listening, that's on right now, some people that are with Wakanda, they're with Wakanda because they were inspired by our 4 pillars. Or someone else invited them in. They were inspired because we were African-American, owned and operated company. Y'all see that? And so whenever there's inspiration, you get movement. And whenever there's a consistent flow of movement, it creates the energy for movement, which creates momentum. And whenever there's momentum, there's an acceleration and accumulation for success. So as you prevail, you must also inspire. So y'all put in the chat, I must also inspire. I must also inspire. These are things, and these are things so you can understand, because part of assistance, a part of inspiration are leadership principles. They're leadership principles. They're leadership principles. And you cannot be a successful entrepreneur without learning how to also and subsequently be a successful leader. And part of leadership, excuse me, is the ability to inspire, the ability to inspire others. That's what it is. You want to know how to accelerate, how to rank advance, how to get people, you have to be able to inspire, because now your inspiration is now connected to influence. And when you have influence, people follow. Okay? And then the L is to leave it all out there. What does that mean? What does that mean? That means to give it all you got. To exhaust yourself in the pursuit of your goal. That means don't hold back. Put that in the chat. Don't hold back. Leave it work it until you have nothing else to give it. Because it's only then that you can say to yourself as an entrepreneur and as a business owner, I gave it my all. I gave it my all. I left nothing undone. That's the only way that you can really know that what you did was good enough, is that you left it all out there. So those things that I've just given you in prevailing is all based on you functioning, operating as a successful entrepreneur. Because we're going to all have opposition. We're going to all have times of difficulty. We're going to all have moments of distraction. We're going to all have uninvited interruptions. And it's how you handle it is going to determine your success or failure. And so the key is how to prevail. And those are the principles and how to do so. I'm going to shift in a second, but I always like to get some type of feedback. Is there anyone that would like to give us feedback, whether via chat? Dr. Mooney, do you want to share something? You can open up the mic.
You know
what are your thoughts?
That was phenomenal. The mindset of an entrepreneur is, would you say that's something that can be learned? Or do people have to be born with it?
You know what? Let me go to that slide because that's actually something that I was going to deal with. So hold on. Let me go to that particular slide. Are entrepreneurs born or can it be learned? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to the slide because I want to read what I wrote. And then after I read what I wrote, I'm going to give you.
And the reason I asked, because that was absolutely phenomenal, what you shared. And I don't want anybody to be, I want them to see that, what you're about to show them versus, some people might run away from it,
Yeah, so here is a couple of scientific thoughts and theories about, are entrepreneurs made or are they born? I'm gonna be honest with you. I believe that entrepreneurs, because when you think about what an entrepreneur is, the entrepreneur is a risk taker. The entrepreneur is an organizer. Entrepreneurs are inventors. Entrepreneurs, you see what I'm saying? Are salespeople. So when you think about what an entrepreneur is, an entrepreneur carries many characteristics. But I would suggest that not one entrepreneur carry all of them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now,
100.
how do you determine whether or not that they're born? So I'm gonna give you some of the scientific stuff just from me studying it, and then I'm gonna give you my perspective. When you think of the supply theory, the supply theory says that entrepreneurs are born and not made. There are two theories about how entrepreneurs develop, often called the supply and the demand theories. In the supply theory, entrepreneurs are born and not made. Certain people have the personality traits that make a good entrepreneur. However, several research studies have shown that entrepreneurs are convinced that they can command their own destinies. They believe in themselves enough that success is the inevitable. It is this belief which stimulates the entrepreneur, according to the supply side of the theory. Now, here's what you have to look at. The demand theory says that entrepreneurs are made based on the demand. So when you look at it from that perspective, Dr. Mooney, you look at it from one perspective that says, hey, because I have these character traits, I'm going to be and I was born with these character traits, I'm going to be a successful entrepreneur. And then you have some that says, I've only become an entrepreneur, not because of the character traits that I have, but my ability to solve a problem or my ability to create something that the market has a demand for. Does that make sense?
That's real good. That's really, really good.
So for me, I believe that entrepreneurs evolve, and they evolve based on the demand and based on the character traits that they have as to how they were born. Because I can have all of the character traits of an entrepreneur, but if I'm never put in the situation to utilize these character traits, then it would never materialize. It would never manifest. It would never become. Does that make sense?
Wow, that's deep. That's very deep. And you have Sylvia saying, love it. Wow. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So now people may have thought they never was an entrepreneur, but watch this. People had, watch this, family members with pain that had a demand for healing. Somebody told them about Wakanda pain cream. So based on the demand for healing, I'm going to provide this pain cream. The pain cream helped. And because my natural trait was I have a spirit that loves to help people. I don't think I'm an entrepreneur. I just love to help people. And when I see people in pain, I want to help them. So what I do is I go and get the pain cream, give it to them. And now that it worked for them, I go and tell everybody else. And before you know it, I am a successful entrepreneur. I wasn't born this way. I was born to loving helping people.
Love it.
But there was a demand to help people with pain. And the way that I can meet that demand, and which is do what I was born to do, which is help people, is provide them with kind of pain cream.
Love it. You know what? That sounds like, and I'm using this very, very loosely. So what you're actually saying is Dr. Reader wasn't born a doctor, but because of the demand, she actually learned how to be a doctor, right? And then all of a sudden found herself in a private practice because she was just, it was, she learned her craft and got pretty good at it. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. But here's the deal. Here's the deal. Because remember, now here's what else helps. So y'all excuse me, I'm getting out of my, here you go. Here's what else helps, because I got to walk now. You're pulling on me, but it's 7 o'clock. I'll say this real quick. Here's the other piece. Environment helps to shape and to cause entrepreneurs to evolve. So what you don't know is that Dr. Rita was forced to go to a school that was close to home because her father did not want her too far away. So she couldn't go where all of her friends went. So because she stayed home and all of her friends was gone, her environment forced her to have nothing else to do but to study. We talk about.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
We gotta go.